My brother-in-law Jason is 20, and 2 years ago he was in an accident that left him paralyzed. He's bound to a wheelchair and barely has any hand mobility, so he needs help with pretty much everything. My wife's parents were hit hard by this and struggled with the pressure of taking care of him. Even though he receives benefits and compensation, in-laws couldn't handle all the doctor's appointments, physical therapy sessions, and constantly caring for him. In the end, Jason came to live with us. Her parents claimed they just needed a few weeks to take a break from caring for him. A few weeks turned into months until he stayed with us permanently. There was a lot of conflict over this. We couldn't believe they'd just stop coming to see him altogether when he was already in a dark place and adjusting to these permanent life changes. We didn't speak with them for a long time. It was difficult to adjust at first, but we're glad he's here with us. Before COVID, we had a care provider stay with him while we were at work, but now that we're home majority of the time we just take turns. He and I have gotten very close, so we've had many talks about his feelings. I know how hard this is for him and how much it hurt when my in-laws pulled out of his life. We haven't had any contact with them at all in over a year. Well, as it turns out, they want to see him again. My wife told me this could be the chance to finally get the family back together and to make amends. She's talked this over with Jason, but he wants nothing to do with them. He's made it clear he doesn't want to see them, but she insists it's important they all talk. Today they showed up unexpectedly when my wife was out. Jason was in the other room and apparently they arranged this meeting today with my wife, but got there earlier than the agreed time. They just wanted to have a sit down with Jason, but I didn't let them set foot in the house. Honestly, my anger got the best of me, and I shut the door on them when they wouldn't leave. I told Jason they were here, he didn't want to speak with them. They left after 10 minutes. When my wife got home, she was furious. She knows what they did was bad, but this was the chance to make it better, and Jason doesn't know what's best for himself because he's still upset about what they did. We went back and forth on this. She said closing the door on them and refusing to let them see Jason was an idiot move, but I feel his wishes should be respected. However, she says his feelings on this are obviously clouded because of what happened, and I prevented him from reconnecting with them in order to move on from the pain. So I'm not sure, was I an idiot here? Not the idiot. As someone with mobility issues from a spinal injury and headed for a wheelchair, I would be horrified by being trapped in that situation if no one listened to me. You did Jason a solid here by respecting his wishes. It's not like he could just leave. They wanted a captive audience, regardless of him and his feelings. It's completely disrespectful. Not the idiot. Your wife sure is though. She tried to force a come to Jesus talk on her adult brother. One where he would literally be a captive audience. No, she does not know better, she does not get the final say, and she needs to knock it off with her overblown sense of entitlement to make such big decisions for others. If and when Jason is ready to have a conversation with his parents, he will decide when. Not as meddling flying monkey's sister. You, sir, are the hero we all need. Your wife is massively overstepping the mark. Her brother may be physically disabled, but if he has an opinion, it needs to be respected. This is ableist and plain wrong. What next? Will she shove food in his mouth if he tells her he's not hungry? The in-laws can write a letter that your sister can read to him, but barging in after being repeatedly told no is not okay. I have a daughter, Lucy, and she's 23. Lucy graduated from university last year and started working at a company. It wasn't the job related to her degree, but she wanted some full-time work experience before she seriously looked for a job relevant to her degree. She settled in really well, was making good money and seemed happy. She even started paying me rent, entirely her choice, because she said she wanted to pay me back for the 4 years I supported her through university. Her mom died when she was young, so I've been a single dad to her and her brother Josh, 22, most of their lives. Any money I got went into providing them with a house or with education, and I'm lucky that I managed to pay off the house with my wife's life insurance and that I used a lot towards their education so they didn't have debt. Anyway, onto the story. My son came round for a family dinner as he lives 2 hours away a little while ago. He asked how we were and what we were up to, and Lucy stunned us by revealing she was dating someone. I was delighted and asked general questions, but she was really vague, only really saying he worked in a decent company and was slightly older. I know what a new relationship is like, so I didn't push my questioning further. So a couple of weeks pass with no issues until one day all hell breaks loose. Lucy comes home from work one day saying her boss's wife has been harassing her and being abusive to her. She claimed to have done nothing wrong, and obviously I initially believed her since she's my little girl. I spent a few hours gently asking her what happened, and her story kept changing, so I got suspicious. I asked her what the truth was and why would her boss's wife randomly start targeting her, and Lucy revealed it's because she was caught having love with her boss in his marital bed. She then revealed she wasn't just dating him, but they'd been having an affair for months. Her 41-year-old boss. She told me she loved him and that he was leaving his wife for her, someone young enough to be his daughter. The time afterwards consisted of my daughter being called all names under the sun by the wife, and she even introduced me to her boyfriend. I was not impressed and told him she is too young for him, and the fact he's her boss is creepy. They both showed no signs of giving up their jobs, and I even said I don't accept them dating as it's wrong, creepy, and that the poor wife is the innocent victim in all this. Lucy tried to get Josh on her side, and he's keeping clear of it all. Lucy is now accusing me of being a horrible dad and an idiot, as I'm not supporting her and the man she loves. She has since moved out and in with this guy as she said she doesn't want to be around my toxicity. I told her that I'm uncomfortable with it because he's 18 years older than her and only a couple of years younger than me. I'm 48, he is her boss, and he was married. She has accused me also of trying to destroy her happiness, and I'm at a loss of what to do. Not the idiot. Your daughter is being the typical horribly naive girl who sleeps with her married boss. Funny she mentions the word destroy because she is currently helping her boss destroy his marriage and wreck his family. She doesn't care, however, because she's selfish and getting exactly what she wants. If he was truly serious about her, he would divorce his wife before he entered into a relationship, but why get divorced when you can get the love so easy and free and also get to keep your wife? She was giving out about how the boss's wife was shouting at her, despite the fact she was sleeping with her husband in her bed. It doesn't seem like she has any remorse for the fact she slept with someone's husband and ended their marriage. And you're completely right, their relationship is weird, given the fact he's only a couple of years younger than you, and he's her boss. And let's face it, he left his wife for a younger version. What happens when he gets bored of her? You can't save kids from their own poor decisions. A married man twice her age is going to end badly. We all know it. She knew you'd think so. That's why she lied. This isn't a good choice, and if they were so in love they could have waited for after the divorce. Whole thing stinks. Be there for her when this all falls through. Odds are good he's going to be an idiot. Men who need women half their age tend to need them because women their own age won't put up with their crap. Not the idiot. Love is unconditional. Support of poor decisions is not. Her mother had issues with infidelity, but it didn't matter because she was so much wealthier than me. She hired some amazing lawyers and took to me to the cleaners. She even managed to secure primary custody, and I can't so much as take her to the doctor without approval from ex-wife, who successfully managed to poison our relationship and feed my daughter lies. I petitioned alienation to the court, which all but ignored my pleas, so me and my daughter began to grow apart to the point where I only saw her for Thanksgiving, a weekend here and there, and maybe for her birthday. Her mother has villainized me to the point where the only thing in my life connected to her is some pictures and her college fund that I have access to. Or what's left of it, of course. I promised that I'd fund her education, up to her doctorate, and she's been unsure of if she was going to do it. She got engaged recently, and I gladly offered to fund about 65% of the wedding, of which her soon-to-be husband's parents, and maybe the couple can cover the rest. Imagine my surprise when I found out that I wasn't invited after her aunt excitedly showed me her invitation, and I realized that I hadn't got one, whereas pretty much everyone else has. So I reached out to her tentatively to make sure that I was invited to the wedding, and I got a pretty curt response, a thinly veiled suggestion for me to steer clear of it. At this point I've had enough. Despite what I've been made out to be, I have always loved her and tried to do right by her, even though I am pretty much a glorified piggy bank. I don't think it's unreasonable to be invited to my own daughter's wedding that I am funding most of, voluntarily. I thought over it some more, then decided to hell with it. I've done my duty as a father to the utmost best of my ability, and I refuse to be taken advantage of even more than I already have. So I want to pull my support for the wedding and a potential graduate degree until we have a proper relationship because I have needs too. I informed her yesterday and she lost her crap on me and blocked my number. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If you are funding any part of the wedding, them trying to pull a fast one and not have you invited is a punch right to the face. If you pay for any event of any kind, you should expect to be welcome there. The curt response sounds like they made it clear that they don't want you there. Painful, but that means that you shouldn't spend a penny if you are not invited. Even if they backtrack, give them the screw you. Everyone's the idiot here. Reading between the lines, I can see a lot of places where you are understating your part in this relationship frame. That said, it is very crass of her to have you pay for the wedding and not even invite you. She is an adult, you don't have to pay for anything anymore unless mandated in some sort of legal agreement. It would have been worse if she was already in a graduate program and you were cutting her off, but this is just a possibility of a graduate program, so you aren't really harming her in that regard. While there are two sides to every story, we only have yours to base on. Obviously your ex has made her not invite you. God knows the poison she spewed. So, based on what you said, daughter or not, I'd pull every last dime from her. If she wants a relationship, then she can do it for just a relationship and not the perks, money. Daughter's boyfriend better see the writing on the wall and run. These women are toxic and mom seems a bit unbalanced. Having a bit of a moral crisis here, not sure whether I fall into the right or wrong. Little about me, I, 24, have been friends with this girl, we'll call Naomi, 25, for pretty much all my life. I would consider us besties really, we have managed to stay in constant contact even while going to college pretty far from each other. I value this girl a lot. Unfortunately, ever since we graduated about 2 years ago, Naomi acts very hoity-toity and fake intellectual now, almost in a neckbeard way I guess. She'll constantly overanalyze things that don't need it, things that come up in daily conversation. She'll tell me so, why do you really feel that way, in a really smug tone, when I tell her what's been going on. Side note here for more background, I've been diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorder and have meds to treat them. Naomi will make the snide remark about these conditions every once in a while, but nothing as bad as the reason I'm writing this. More context is that, due to the current political climate in the United States, me and Naomi have been arguing a lot more. I'd say we're both liberal, but she's been low-key insulting me a lot when we talk politics. Calling me crazy for saying climate change isn't that serious, things like that. Things came to a head with a conversation the other day. In short, Naomi began to professionally analyze me and my behaviors and concluded I have narcissistic personality disorder and I'm probably a sociopath. She said I refused to budge on things and would bully her until I got my way. She also said that I would weaponize my depression and anxiety to guilt people into agreeing with me. To say this hurt puts it mildly, so I tried to confront her rationally. She kept going saying she had taken an online certificate course in psychology and felt she was qualified to diagnose me. I freaked out, telling her she had no expertise in this field, she has a degree in a natural science, think biology, and that I wouldn't talk to her until she apologized. She refused and told our friends I was having an episode and that I needed to be institutionalized. Some of our friends are with me, but some say I freaked out and owe her an apology. So, I wanted to ask, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She basically accused you of having major mental illnesses because you don't agree with her political opinions. Her justification for this is she took an online class. She sounds like a walking thread. A freak out in response might be unfortunate and unnecessary or totally appropriate, I wasn't there, but doesn't make you the idiot. She is absolutely unqualified to make this kind of diagnosis. Only a qualified medical professional, in the context of a formal evaluation, can appropriately diagnose this type of condition. At this point she is being a nasty, abusive and rude. She does not seem to be invested in supporting you and being a friend. Telling people that you need to be involuntarily institutionalized is a huge red flag. You should really reconsider the role this person plays in your life. As a mental health professional who's had to pass years of schooling, years of postgraduate internships and fellowships, plus state exams to even begin to diagnose people, not the idiot. Your friend is. If she wants to diagnose to bad, tell her to get hefty malpractice insurance. She sounds like she'll need it. Don't ever let someone else make you think you're crazy, regardless of how many degrees they have. I have twin sons. 4 years ago, shortly before they graduated from high school, I sat them down and told them that I'm more than happy to completely pay for their educations so they wouldn't need to take out loans. However, I let them know that my financial support was conditional. In order to get my financial support, my sons had to agree to the following. 1. They could not join a fraternity, except for professional fraternities. 2. They could not drink before age 21. 3. They had to maintain a 3.25 grade point average and send me their transcripts every semester so I could verify this. 4. They could not go party more than once a month. I imposed these conditions because I often drank to excess myself in college. I needed 3 extra semesters to graduate due to failing quite a few classes. One of my sons, E, was a huge partier in high school. He told me that my conditions were too harsh and prevented him from having an authentic college experience, whatever that meant. He chose to take out loans to attend a state school. My other son, J, is the quieter and more studious of the two. He agreed to my conditions and I paid for his education at an Ivy League school. Both E and J have been living at home ever since the pandemic started and caused schools to move online. E graduated with a degree in creative writing and a 2.95 grade point average, while J graduated with a degree in computer science and a 3.9 grade point average. Things came to a head last night at dinner. J announced that he had a job offer from Apple. I was about to grab a bottle of wine to celebrate his success when I noticed he looking glum. I asked him what was wrong, and he said that it wasn't fair how his brother had his education completely paid for and a 6-figure job right after graduation, while he was tens of thousands of dollars in debt and only had an offer from a temp agency. I reminded E that he could have had his education completely paid for as well and pointed out that J's Apple offer was a function of his grade point average and choice of degree. E knew he couldn't argue with me on the facts and stormed upstairs. No idiots here, it's your money and you can do what you want with it. I think that your rules were quite harsh given that you know your sons are very different and one would struggle with your rules. I think that just like your son has consequences of his choices, there will be consequences for you in the quality of relationship you have with your son as a result of your choices. You are the idiot for being such a ridiculously controlling parent. While your son who didn't get help might feel badly right now, I'm sure he'll fare better as life goes on, having learned to rely on himself and having authentic experiences in college that aid adult development. Trying to protect your children from the world, even when they're not living with you, and making your financial support contingent upon following those rules is stifling and will produce children dependent on you, not themselves. Though, judging by your post and the rules you imposed on your children, that's exactly what you hoped. I get where you're coming from, and I 100% agree with the grade point average rule. But why impose additional restrictions on partying and drinking? If your son is able to maintain his grades, while also going out and having fun with his friends, why do you care? Your reasoning is because you failed classes, but I would argue that learning to balance your responsibilities and social life is an extremely important part of becoming an adult. It's also hypocritical to expect your children not to drink or party while in college when you obviously got to enjoy those things. If your son has good grades, you should pay off his debt for him since you paid for your other kids' expenses.